Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Aksik. Super happy to see you here. And today is the second part of doing this cute, lovely snow shoveling page by Morgan O'Brien. The book's name is Matchstick Mouse Winter, from what I remember. And we did this alcohol marker base just day before. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be able to publish them on consecutive days, but I'm certainly coloring it on consecutive days. So as you can see, I'm still living in the holiday mood here, just in case you haven't noticed all the lights. At least they're not blinking. And I wasn't yesterday yet sure what pencils I was going to use. I used fairly strong alcohol marker base, like darker, some mid-tones. So I decided that, I definitely need something opaque. And because many of you don't have Faber-Castell black editions, which I often would prefer on Amazon paper because of the kind of a toothiness of it. Pismas can be a bit harder to kind of smooth out on this paper. I decided to go for Prismas anyway. Now, these ones are just pulled from my old 120 set, and I didn't really have much of a rhyme and the reason. I just basically pulled, I might use it type of a pencil. So I'm not going to read them out to you. I'm not going to, I'm basically calling them out as I go when I'm making decisions, because that's how my coloring process works. I don't really do combinations much. I'm a bit of a gung-ho colorist like this. But, I kind of picked out for myself some sort of a selection, which is obviously going to be a bit too wide, but possibly not. We'll see how it's going to work. Now, we will put these to the side, and I will get you closer to the actual page we're coloring. And then I'm spreading my pencils out so it'd be actually easier to find them on the desk, because at the moment they're kind of all bunched together. But, these will be out of your sight. And let's now get you closer. And I'm going to get you pretty close, like this. This way you will definitely see. That is just typical. For some reason, always my voice starts going when I start speaking in the camera or in the video. Otherwise, it doesn't usually go. Okay, so my method usually, I prefer to work from back to front. So obviously, if I go by that logic, I need to do the tree trunks first. At least, that's what I would go for in my head. And I'm going to... Actually, one pencil that I didn't pull out was black. I might as well take Prisma black. Oh no, taking Brutfuner black. This is just, cheap black. It doesn't need to be Prisma black, because on this paper, pencils, it grabs pencils pretty well. So basically what I'm doing here, that I'm putting in, this is kind of a transparent black, okay? This isn't Prisma black that is like, super opaque and heavy. This is more of a transparent black, which I want here because it's basically going to be just layer of darkness after I put some other pencils on top of it. So I'm just creating a bit of a texture and a bit of a darker shadows here, at the when the tree, where the tree is coming out of the ground, and when this branch, I want to kind of bring that branch a bit more forward here. And to do that, I need to put some darkness behind it, and I will also lighten it later on, but not at the moment. And now I'm going to start creating some kind of a texture and grooves in the tree. The darkest shadows, where the artist has put some texture lines in as well, but I'm going to add them. Okay, so a little bit of a cast shadow underneath that snow there. I hope that I'm in shot. I'm bringing it a little bit downwards, because otherwise I'm going to be out and putting some here underneath the branch. So that would be dark a bit here, here as well, darkening a bit underneath, and also kind of putting some little kind of a grooves or textures in. And we have the kind of a darkish mid-tone already down there, so we're not worrying about that. And we're not worrying about the tooth much either, because that's going to be easy. And because we have already fairly strong tone down, tone down, sorry, tone down, it is going to be relatively easy to get rid of the pencil texture, because on the dark background it will show less. Okay, so now I have the black down as much as I'm going to use it. I just pulled another bit of a texture there. I'm taking now French Gray 90%. I'm basically going over the black a bit. And it doesn't feel like it's showing much, especially on the camera, but it does kind of soften and give a bit more of a richness to the black. Takes that harshness away a bit. And I'm essentially going over the texture lines like this, making sure there's nice strong shadow there. I want this to be kind of a deep shadow here for the branch. And now I'm going to, I had something lighter French Gray as well. Should I put something warmer in there as well? Probably not. I want those trees to be fairly pushed to the background. You know, because the mouse is going to be done with warmer. I don't want them to blend together. So I did have another French Gray someplace. Possibly not. Anyways, I don't really need it badly. I'm taking now ginger root. That one is okay. Is it visible if I put it in front of the camera like this? Yeah, it's very hard to show with a sparkly writing. Sorry. So these are going to be hard to show. So this is now fairly light pencil, but not quite white. We don't really want white there. But where I put the grooves down into the tree, kind of next to these, not all the way, kind of in kind of broken lines, I will put some lighter pencil. Just like this. And this is how easy it is to kind of create a tree bark. And at the moment it seems I'm actually going a bit too light and bright, so I'm going, this one is now French Gray 90% again. I'm darkening the bottom of that branch. And if I feel that I went a bit too light in some areas, I'm just going softly in to that area with the French Gray 90%. And here again, I'm going to lighten up some parts of the branches. There we go. And we have more light bits at the top than we do at the bottom, because more light would fall there. And yet, if I still feel that some of the areas are a bit too light or too contrasty, like for here, for example, then I'm just going to very, very softly flick some French Gray 90% into them. And because we already have the fairly dark tone down from the alcohol marker, the texture won't be an issue anymore. That usually is an issue with with the Prismacolor pencils with Amazon paper. That sort of a darker alcohol marker base helps with that quite a bit. So you can see how smoothly that one goes. So here once again I'm going to go in with black making sure that my shadows are super deep. And I'm also putting the first darkest shadows and the grooves and textures into the tree with the black. Also putting some underneath the little snow caps to create shadows for them, make everything a bit more 3D. Also, if I put really strong, almost black shadows here underneath the snow, that saves me from having to use white gel pen or white acrylic marker at the bottom of those snow caps or snow puffs, because there's already kind of dark shadow there, and the black line becomes invisible because I took the dark shadows in there. So I'm doing here as well. I'm giving the bottom of it fairly strong shadow. I'm putting tiny bit of shadow into this one as well here, but I'm not doing much with this tiny branch there. It's kind of pointless to work that heavily. And here I need also dark shadow underneath this snow cap, which is actually sitting on the branch. And here also making sure that it's nice and dark underneath the snow cap. Here we go. And here we go. And just pulling some darkness into the bottom of the branches and making some dark all together. Now I'm going to put some French gray 90% in there. Same story. Softening, going a little bit over some parts of the black. As I said, transparent black on top of dark brown doesn't really look black. It just looks like darkness. Like deep, deep shadow. It doesn't give that dead black feel. And here as well, darkening this bit of a bottom branch and this bit of a bottom branch. And now I'm taking the ginger root again, just pulling some highlights in. Okay, this one I need to. All right, and on top of this branch, maybe there's a little bit of a texture here and there as well. And in this instance, I do need to keep the pencils fairly sharp. So if I'm going to start losing the point here, then I need to go and actually resharpen my pencils, because I need to be able to put them, the highlights and the shadows in with a fair bit of precision. So I forgot to do this branch here altogether, didn't do anything to it. That was a bit, keep missing branches. This tree is a curse. I keep missing the parts of it. I forgot to color that branch before when I was doing the base and so on. Oh, I forgot to mention to you that yesterday, when I finished this, I didn't realize that maybe it was intentional, maybe not, but to me there was, beforehand, the way the ear was going here, basically there was no hat behind it and no tree trunk either. There was like empty space, basically sky. And it looked really weird when I started looking at the image, that something was wrong. And then I realized that either there should be a continuation of hat here, or there should be the tree trunk visible behind her head. So I just, extended the hat a bit downwards. So it's a little bit behind the ear there. And I should have really filmed it, but I kind of forgot to film it. And now, see, I brought a little bit of pencil here, the ginger root, into that branch, and that brought the whole tree forward, because now it's clearly visible on this dark tree trunk there. See, that's how easy it goes. Now you might want to cover your ears. I wanted to get my pencil sharp, my black, because I need to have a good control of that black. Once again, I'm going to put on one side at least a bit of darkness and some texture lines. Here, there's not much of the tree visible, so no point going into huge amount of details. Just, tiny bits of texture, and that's perfectly sufficient. And I might as well do this one in the one go and then go in with the other colors. So making sure that there's nice and dark bit here where the tree is coming out of the snow, and there's cast shadows, and now I'm bringing it upwards. And I'm also deliberately, maybe there wouldn't be that much of a darkness there, but I want to put some darker background behind the spoon. So I'm making the bottom of the tree possibly darker than it should be, but in my head it will look better that way. And yeah, here as well, making that nice and dark. It's like behind something, so the light doesn't get there. And now I'm starting to bring texture upwards and diffusing it to usually one side. And usually on this side I have also put more of a shadow on the tree, so I'm darkening this side. I forgot to darken it here. And bringing it up, bringing it down, bringing it down. Trying to, not just do full stripes up and down, kind of slightly staggered lines and textures on the tree. And now I'm going to take the French gray 90% again. And I'm going to go a little bit over the black, just softening everything, diffusing things a bit, making some shadow areas a bit wider, but not hugely so. And just going on like this. And now next thing is ginger root. And now I'm going to put in the highlights. Well, let's put on that one first. Okay, so a couple of highlights here as well, just to give it a bit of a character, bring it more to life. Okay, and here and here and here, basically where I've left the background color untouched, there's no other pencil on it, that's where I can bring forward the best highlights, because the lighter pencil works the best on alcohol marker base. If you put other pencil underneath, it won't give you that bright of a highlight anymore, so definitely leave some spaces where the pencil can go like this and you have instant highlights. And just softly and kind of flick your pencil more so than anything else. And wider in some areas, narrower in some areas, not uniform. And if I feel that they get a little bit too uniform or too kind of a distinctive for a tree bark, then I'm going over very gently, flicking in some French gray 90%. I hope you can hear me well. I might put my microphone a tiny bit closer, possibly. We'll see how this is going to work out for me. Just maybe a bit better position. Hopefully, I don't know. It's all experimenting here. And then I'm going to go over the outline of a tree on the left-hand side, because I've kind of obviously decided the light is coming from that side, like this. So I have put shadows now on the trees as well on the right-hand side here, making them dark. And I'm going over, good old opaque Prisma essentially took out the outline of that tree, the black outline. And I'm doing the same thing here. I'm putting Prisma ginger root like this onto the outline of a tree. And there we are. I think those trees look great now. There's no point, getting them any more detailed than they are. They're plenty detailed. Now we're going to move on to the, let's do the greens, because there's green that is starting at the back, so we might as well move on there. And okay, we have this green, which is dark green, and I'm just putting a little bit of that into that tree in the background. And I never get tired of saying that I try, sometimes I go overboard still. I try not to overwork elements that are far away in the background, because your human eye doesn't really work that way. Those should be pretty vague and not much shaded at all, but you want some shadows in it, not totally flat color. So I'm going to put some, little color variations into it, a little bit of a texture, so it wouldn't be just flat object with strong outline, and the outline would be hard to get rid of. And here I actually try to darken the bits that are on the outside, because I don't want to outline it. And if I darken the bits that are sticking out from the tree, there is no need. It doesn't look like line art then. You see how it became a little bit better. And of course, there's going to be a little bit of some sort of a white acrylic marker on these snow bits, which will change the look quite considerably. It will look like a snow, but I'm going to put some darker green here, like this. And I'm also going to pull in some light green and just a couple of tiny lines in. Not spending long on it, like a couple of minutes, not even that. And that's it. I'm not going to do anything with the tree in the background anymore, because it's just not benefiting the picture much in any way at all. Now I'm going to move on to this little bush and these leaves. So I kind of had in my head this vague idea. Let's see how this is going to work out for me. This is peacock green. I would still like to kind of show the pencils to the camera as well, but I have to figure out the kind of a golden writing doesn't really work. Yeah, it kind of creates a glare. But I guess you can see something. I'll check for myself how it actually will look when I watch the video eventually on the full screen. But I can't really see how well or how good or bad it looks on the camera here. And here we also have, of course, snowfall, which is one of the last things we will put down. So I'm going very gently here, and I'm putting green dark bits where the leaves would cast a strong shadow, and bringing it very gently into the leaves as well, diffusing it. Here like this, but not fully into that leaf, because I have other plans. This bit I'm making pretty dark here. This leaf is casting a bit of a shadow. I'm bringing tiny bit of that peacock green into the actual leaf as well, but not much, and just clicking some in. And doing the same thing here, flicking a little bit in here and there, but making sure that this bit here is going to be pretty dark. So those leaves will come forward. It creates more of a 3D effect for us here. And of course, we want the bottom of the bush to be pretty dark. fuchsia plant or whatever it is. It's some sort of an evergreen, obviously, since it's winter and there is snow on the ground, so clearly anything that is still green is going to be evergreen. Okay, and I'm making sure that I'm putting strong green shadow, cast shadow underneath the leaves once again. Now I am bringing in this, which is hot pink. Is it hot pink? Yes. And technically it doesn't really go with anything that is on this page. If you look at that color, that tone doesn't really fit with anything, but it fits with the background. So I'm slightly tying now the background with the image, and I'm putting it to the tips of the leaves, gently, with the tips of the leaves. I'm pressing pretty strong, and then I'm softening the pressure and diffusing it towards the center of the leaves, but I won't take it too far. The tips of the leaves I will make pretty pink. And it also will give a little bit more interesting look to the plant than just, a boring green. I'm diffusing it out. So a little bit of pink, hot pink, into all of the tips here. And Morgan O'Brien doesn't need to be colored super neatly and super precisely, because the way he colors himself, he draws himself, is kind of fairly loose and almost slightly sketchy and cartoony. So I think that it looks actually better if we color a bit more soft way, kind of a bit haphazard, dropping in colors, not worrying that every blend has to be super neat and super tidy. And this is lavender, and I'm putting it to the edges of the hot pink very gently. Okay, just a gentle. I'm not pressing much at all, I'm just dropping a tiny bit of it in. Okay, and now I'm taking this green again, which is light green. I used a tiny bit of it here in the background as well. So once again, reusing colors is a good idea. And now I'm going over most of the dark green that I used, the peacock green. This one here, the peacock green. And I'm not burnishing it all, but I'm burnishing kind of the bottom parts of it now. And I'm bringing this very light green into the lavender as well, and that blends everything together. I'm not bringing it down all the way into the hot pink. I'm leaving that alone. Sorry now if you can hear some sort of a rattle and engine noises in the background. That's our pumped shower. The water pressure here in these parts of Ireland, and most of Ireland, isn't particularly great. So if you want to have a decent shower, you put in electric, pump shower essentially. So you have nice pressure in the shower. The shower would feel nice and strong. Now, and there we go. This is how simple it is. And now I actually feel that because I went over the peacock green with the light green, that I've lost some of the darkness there. So I'm dropping in some extra peacock green in the shadowy areas. And, trying to keep it still nice and diffused. And if I still feel that, oh, I would like it a bit darker, some bits of it a bit darker, I have also taken out a black cherry, and I'm using that in a shadows. I will use that in shadows in several places. If I want to darken them or deepen them extra, then I drop in some black cherry, which neutralizes here and darkens the green beautifully and creates extra deep shadow. So there. I think that is sufficient. And now I'm going to do a quick treatment, which I should have probably done in the first, kind of when I was doing the bush itself, but whatever. I forgot about it, to be honest. These leaves I consider to be all from that sort of a plant. So I am putting them down now, and I'm making sure that underneath the snow, where there's snow down like this, there's always going to be something dark, so I don't have to do, hopefully, the bottom of the snow. Okay, and here also. Okay, and here also, see, I'm putting a little shadow here, so I wouldn't have to deal with the black line underneath the snow here. And here also, and I'm dropping in the hot pink now, the tips. Actually, I think that is supposed to be a leaf, that part there. I have a feeling that I've gotten my color, kind of my base wrong, but that's easy to fix here. Yeah, that's supposed to be leaf as well. So I'm going to put shadow down there. Sorry. Dropping in more hot pink. And you can see how already this little tip of hot pink and lavender is tying the whole image together better with the background. Which I was asked what paints I use to make those kind of a dark, well-covering backgrounds. That people are struggling to get a good coverage of acrylic paints, and the answer is that I usually mix from different colors. Really, I have loads of different paints, and I end up mostly, if I mix something for one page, it's very hard to mix correct amount, but you also would rather err on the side of too much than too little. So I pretty much always end up with too much paint, so I just paint in random backgrounds. But how I get them opaque, I actually was thinking about, I was contemplating the idea, because I have been asked several times to do a video about it, how to just get good covering acrylic paint in the colors you want for the backgrounds. Basically, I add, if I find a color I kind of want, I start with base color and then I add more opaque colors, because a lot of colors depends, even in the same brand, some of the colors are very opaque, some are quite transparent. But if you want to use the color of something that is very transparent, you can make that paint more opaque, but it will change the color somewhat. So, there's different ways to play with it. Usually playing with adding other paints that are more opaque, or often I would just play adding white and black. And this way you get way more opaque paint. Even if it's more opaque, you still often have to go over it, at least certain parts of it, twice. But at least you don't have to do like several layers. Okay, that went off the rails again. Got carried away. If you ask me questions, you get answers of the what I can and what I know. I am not even pretending that I know everything. Or Oh, that every question can be asked and, you know, you just will get answers. No, not exactly that, but I do try. And this is now once again light green, which I'm using here basically to blend everything together, you know, greens. And I'm bringing it into the tiny area I put the lavender into, but I will not go with that on top of hot pink. And this gives a nice cohesive look here. Okay. And since I was doing greens, I might as well do the grass as well, since I'm at it. And the grass here, I actually would kind of like to put in some lights first. So I'm taking beige maybe. How would that work here? Not too light. Maybe cream. Yeah, cream is a bit better. So I'm taking cream, and those bits that Morgan has decided that these grass bits are going to sticking up a bit, I am flicking some cream into them. And eventually maybe even adding, you know, some bits of the same color in little flicks across the page. So we have a bit of a grass texture here and there. It's just putting a little bit of a, like this one here too. Okay, we don't want to, because I don't want to really put too much kind of a gel pen grass down. It be maybe a bit too much, but I might change my mind as the page goes on. So I had this really dull green, which was kelp green, but I also wanted to put some brown down. Oops, I've broken that one. So that's green umber, but I need to sharpen it, sorry. And I will use green umber. Here, one of the things is that I don't want the grass to be vibrant or very green. I want it to be wintry and kind of tired grass. So I'm taking this green umber, and I'm putting now the shadow where I want shadow. Yeah, I might need to add some gel pen, you know, just to bring some flicks up in front of her legs and stuff like this, which would be a bit tricky to do with pencils. So I'm creating a shadow underneath the mouse. And I will, of course, create shadows with that other places as well. But at the moment, one of the main things is to get the shadows right. And I'm putting them down when they need to be, but then I will also diffuse them outwards a bit. And here behind those little clumps where I put the cream color in, I'm actually pulling some flicks at the sides and at the back. So there would be texture there. But yeah, the main things at the moment is to get the shadow down. There's also going to be shadow under the snow mounds here, where they're blocking the light. So there needs to be shadow here. I will actually even darken that shadow, I think, at the moment. I don't think it's dark enough. And there's going to be shadow underneath the leaves. Here under the snow, underneath the leaf. This leaf will also, I want to specifically, and one of the reasons I want fairly dark shadow underneath it is because that eliminates the need to cover any green outlines there. And I'm going to also put some shadow here coming from the corners. Okay, and now I'm also going to now put the texture in a bit, but I will also, before I start flicking in different colors and kind of a grass textures here, more than I already did with the light pencil, I'm creating darker area that is kind of behind those snowy bits. Okay, so it's going to be some here. Let those shadows meet a bit. Yeah, I want this shadow here to be darker than it is at the moment underneath the mouse, but I can do that in a moment. I'm darkening also the shadow there. Will you stop, please, Shen? Please. Could you not? I apologize. You're such a princess. There. You have a blanket on you. Are you happy now? She demands to be put on the blanket because the blanket had fallen off the couch, and it's a big enough, it's kind of like a throw blanket, large one, so she can't really get it up herself. So she sits on the couch and gives out to me until I go there, pick up the blanket from the ground or throw or whatever, and put it on her, and then everything is all right with the world again. That is how spoiled our dog is. Well, that's what they're for, the dogs. Spoiling. She's a very kind soul, though, you know, there's no aggression or anything. Except for cats, she doesn't like cats. It's a bit sad, because, you know, it would be something, you know, I wouldn't mind having a cat, but no, that wouldn't be a good idea for neither us or the dog or the cat least of all. That would be one stressed cat. Okay, so I've been putting down now this green umber everywhere. I need a little bit here as well. And I need to drop in some other colors as well, so it wouldn't be just, you know, one boring color. And I need to darken this shadow here. So let's see. I'm taking now kelp green. Are you darker? I think I might need to go in with some possibly purple again. Ouch! See, that's what happens sometimes when you get too aggressive with Prismos. Because there's a fair bit of color already down here. I had to press a bit. So I'm now once again pulling some grass textures here and there up. There we go. And I think I need that. Yeah, I will definitely okay, just creating a bit of a shadow here and there, so it, yeah, so that leaf would be nice and grounded as well. Okay, and now I will need to darken this bit here, which is annoying me because I can't get it dark enough. Also want to darken this bit here, so I'm bringing in the black cherry again. If you want to darken shadows, and your pencils just, unless you go black, they just don't go dark enough, then adding stuff like dark purples, depending on color you're adding it to, but adding it to green works wonderfully because you essentially neutralize, you know, the green neutralizes it beautifully as well, so it just looks like darkness, but you get this kind of an interesting deeper darkness with that one than you would with just gray. Well, in my books anyway, you know, that's my preference and opinion, which once again is not word of the law. Need to get that hat done now as well. Actually, I'm going to bring in white here, so I'll just pull some extras up. So it would be just different directions, different lengths. They wouldn't be uniform. If they get very uniform in the same direction, they don't look like grass anymore. And I know it's white, but it doesn't really, because there's so much green down there, it doesn't really look like white. It just looks like lighter texture, like highlights. On some grasses, the light is catching. Now, that looks pretty nice texture now to me. There's no point going overboard. But here, just a little bit. And if you look very close, yes, you can see what has been done. But from the distance, it essentially looks like a grass. So there. And I might put some extra, maybe lighter bits here in the grass that Morgan has created for us. And now I need to finish this hat. Now for this hat, I actually will take the same white that was in my hand, and I'm putting the highlights in with that one, just to make sure that I do get highlights. If you put down dark highlight with alcohol marker or acrylic paint, like for example, then white or light pencils go on top of it. You can almost take it back to white. So, okay, I'm taking now this kelp green, so it's not identical to the grass. I'm shading it slightly differently. Okay. And the bottom of the hat as well. There we go. Just making sure that there's shadow there, and I will also put already some black cherry into the darkest part where there should be shadow, and bringing it slightly upwards so it's nice and dark shadow. And I'm taking now light green again and bringing that hat color into a different color altogether. And now we get this kind of a knitted texture to it as well. There we go. Now I might even add a little bit. I kind of put too much light green in there, so I'm still bringing the kelp green. Is it kelp green? No, that's dark green, sorry. Dark green up to it. Yeah, that wasn't kelp green. Okay, so now greens. It seems we're done with greens. Unless I'm missing something. But if I'm missing something, that's fine. I will deal with it later. Now, let's move on to the hat. The hat. And I'm grabbing now... Well, I'm keeping the black cherry from the previous choices. And let me see if I can now bring things down a bit. I will be blocking at some stage with my hand a bit. So I'm putting the black cherry. Once again, the base is pretty dark here. I'm putting the black cherry under the rim of the hat like this, so I get a nice deep shadows here. Here is the same story. There's going to be barely any light underneath the hat, so I'm making sure that behind her head as well, it's going to be quite dark. And then I'm bringing in the Tuscan red, going over the black cherry, diffusing it out slightly, and I'm leaving the very edge alone. But here at the back, I'm going all the way with Tuscan red. So there's going to be no light there. Here, at least, there's going to be some light hitting this edge here, but there's nothing. This is all blocked from the light. And okay, so let's take the reds and let's deal with the hat. Okay, so at the moment I'm starting from Tuscan red. I might deepen with black cherry eventually, or I might do black grape even. It's a bit too cold, but we'll see. I'm going to decide on that a bit later. At the moment, Tuscan red. So first place I'm going to go underneath that ear and making sure that this bit at the back here is going to be nice and dark. Then here also behind the ear and the rim of the hat, putting a bit of a darkness, and everything behind the ear like this is going to be a bit of a shadow. So especially here now. And I want the strong shadow behind the ear, because that also disguises, as you can see, some of the black line. Okay, I'm flicking also. There's obviously kind of a groove or crease here, so I'm flicking in a bit of a shadow there, and I'm bringing some shadow down at the pom-pom is throwing. And then I'm also putting pretty strong shadow here at the very back and underneath those decorative stitches. Okay, and diffusing some of that shadow upwards. Okay, might have been a bit sloppy there, but be fine. Throwing a little bit of that now, not full strength, but a little bit now here in front of the ear as well. And once again, very, very softly bringing it upwards and diffusing it out altogether. Now the next color is going to be Crimson Lake. And I'm going to take that underneath now here and using that as the last, kind of the lightest color underneath the hat, or underneath the brim of the hat. And I'm going slightly over the Tuscan red. Essentially, I'm burnishing the Tuscan red, to be honest, because I don't want to be very taking super long here with it. But I'm blending it upwards also in a very diffused way. And I'm creating this bit of a crease here, where I can use lighter pencils. And here as well, now in front of the ear, I'm going over that stronger with the Crimson Lake. I'm going to leave lighter area here. Here at the back as well, I'm taking it down from the ear, but I'm leaving lighter area here at the bottom. And here I'm diffusing it slightly upwards, very, very, like just barely touching. But I'm leaving clean areas at the top and at the bottom. I'm just bringing some up a little bit in the middle. And then I'm going to take the carmine red. And now I'm taking it once again, diffusing slightly more upwards. This carmine red is very similar to the mass tone of the hat we put down. This is essentially almost the same color. Well, not all the same, but you know, strength-wise, it's going to be very similar. And now I'm going to first put in a little bit of white. This is not going to stay white, but I'm going to put in a little bit of white here at the top of the hat there, diffusing it downwards. Here at the top of the hat here, also where the grease goes there, and diffusing it a little bit downwards like this. And at the top here also, the very top here. It can also be on the outline, kind of blurs outline slightly, so if you do that, make sure that you go over the full outline. And if you feel that you went over the edge tiny bit, small rubbers are super handy for kind of taking out a little bit. Okay, so I'm bringing that one, making sure that this is nicely brought up. And I'm diffusing that downwards and to this area here on top of the hat rim, like here, and also bringing it down like this on the bottom of the hat rim the whole way, and I'm diffusing it slightly upwards. So essentially I'm creating now a light base for the highlight pencil. So the highlight would be a bit sharper, you know, stronger. Okay, so now it's all, the highlights are created. I'm going to tidy them up a bit, neaten them, soften them, but they are there now. And I'm going to bring it a bit more downwards, like this. Okay, and now I have a pink, which is called just pink. And I'm taking that upwards from the red, the, what was that called again? Carmine red, yeah? The last red we used. And I'm taking it gently upwards into the white, and then I'm diffusing it out, leaving some bit of that white highlight, a tiny bit kind of glowing at the very top. So I'm putting it onto the carmine red, the last red we used, and bringing it gently upwards while decreasing the pressure, and then leaving tiny bit of white up there. And I'm doing the same thing here, going over the reds I put down. Gentle hand, this one I don't press heavily or burnish much, and then I'm bringing it gently upwards and almost to the end of the white, but not quite. I'm leaving a tiny bit of that white glow at the edges. And here the same story. It just softens the effect and makes it a bit more natural. There we go. And I will need to do that again now with white. Just make sure that everything is nice and neat. And I might want to add more pink there. I probably will. Sometimes I work back and forth to make sure that I'm going to get the shape and the shading I want. Sometimes it goes super fast, and sometimes I just won't find my way for a while. And that's fine. And I'm going to put back, especially this hat rim. I wasn't happy how it was looking. So now I'm slowly diffusing and flicking in that pink upwards there, and here coming down as well. I'm being very soft, just putting some color down. There we go. I think this one will work for us now fine. This one will work for us fine. And I am using the same red combo now in the scarf as well, so it would kind of match. So once again, I'm putting into the most shadow areas, which I did there as well. I'm putting the black cherry. That's where the scarf is essentially overlapping itself. That's where I want the darkest shadows. Bringing it down. And bringing it down here. So this is the spoon that is throwing the shadow, diffusing it. This is where the scarf is overlapping again. And this is the pom-pom, the scarf is throwing a bit of a shadow onto the pom-pom, so I'm putting it underneath that, and then I'm diffusing it, kind of a slightly scribbly movements into the pom-pom, like this. Okay. And now I'm taking the Tuscan red. I'm going over the black cherry with it and diffusing it out, just to bring it back into our so-called color combination or color scheme. I don't need to be super tidy, but you know, some rudimental diffusing and blending is a good idea. And here as well, I'm just going to go over the black cherry and I scribble into slightly into the pom-pom itself here as well. And now I'm grabbing the Crimson Lake. Sorry, I forgot actually this bit here as well. So I'm going to put some kind of a dimension and shadows here with the Tuscan red. Sorry. And also because the scarf is kind of curving towards the spoon, I'm going to put a bit of a shadow in there. And also on top where it has little creases and textures, I'm going to emphasize them with darker shadows like this. Now, and now I'm going to go in with Crimson Lake again, going over it. Here we go. Just diffusing it upwards, lessening pressure. Here we go. And I'm taking now the carmine red. And since I have reds in my hand now, I usually tend to use them in most areas I need them, except in a couple of kind of pink or red areas that need to be added into the fur after everything is done. So I'm going to slightly diffuse you in there. And now I'm going to put in, once again, a bit of white to create a bit of a highlight here and there. Create the texture in the scarf. I will actually might as well put it in a little bit into that kind of a mustardy yellow as well. Just so you wouldn't lose them. And yeah, here as well maybe. But I'm definitely putting them now. You can see I created a little bit of a like texture at the bottom of the pom-poms here. But I'm not going to be covering the lines. I'm just going to kind of soften and diffuse them. There we go. Just creating some extra little highlights and textures like this. Here we go. And now I'm taking the pink, and once again I'm kind of softening the transition between the white and red with the pink, but I'm still leaving some white showing and kind of dominating here. As those highlights are very necessary, otherwise this thing will not look 3D. Actual scarf. Okay. Now we have the red parts done. Now we need to do pink parts, and for pink parts I am starting with carmine red. So I'm going to put, here I'm starting with the worm, a little bit of a shadow underneath the eyeglasses, underneath the hat brim, maybe put a little bit of a groove underneath the mouth, and then darker part when it's covered by snow, and a bit of a shadowy area here. Actually, I might do the whole this area pretty dark. Okay, and giving the nose a bit of a curve as well here. Okay, and we're putting in some white just to create extra highlights onto the nose as well. And taking the pink again, going over the red and diffusing the pink into white. I might need a bit stronger shadow areas here, so I'm actually taking the crimson red, and I have to be careful with that so I wouldn't take it too far, then it becomes red instead of pink, but in shadows it's fine. Okay, so bringing a little bit of a shadow upwards. There's going to be definitely shadow here behind the glasses. The glasses I'm going to do with the frames, probably with the glitter gel pen or something like this. So no worries about that. And I would probably actually put a bit of a more shadow here so it would be more three-dimensional. So I created this bit, taking the carmine red again, going over the crimson red, just softening everything, and adding maybe some extra white, just to make sure that we have a nice bright highlight. There we go. The worm is done. And we're doing the similar thing now to the mouse's ears. Here I'm making sure that I put the highlights in first. I'm also going to do the mouse's nose. So I'm going to put white on top of the nose. And I'm going to put white on top of this, probably a crease in the ear. So I'm taking a sharp white up like this, and then I'm diffusing it upwards the sides, okay, like this, and I'm doing it on the other side as well. There's going to be crease there, and I'm diffusing it out like this, and we can fix anything that I'm not happy with later. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm putting some white highlight onto the tail of the mouse. Okay, the rest of it I'm making pretty bright pink. And now I'm going to go in, I might as well go in with the Crimson Lake, because I do know that I need at least a little part of it to be pretty nicely shadowed. I'm not going to put much of it in. I want it to be pink, not red. So, but I'm going to put some darker pink in here. And just, letting it to diffuse out with the flicks like this. And now going towards the bottom of the ear as well, just giving it a bit of a shape with that movement. I might as well put some white underneath here to kind of almost reflective light because it's coming from the snow, obviously. And I'm going to now take the well, another bit of Crimson Lake just to deepen this bit here and this bit here, just softly. And now I'm taking the Carmine Red and I'm flicking it out like this. This is very softly. I'm not putting much pressure in. And here as well, I'm kind of bringing it softly outwards. The only reason I put dark a bit there is to depict that this ear is folding over itself there. So I'm bringing it upwards like that, creating shapes. And now I'm taking pink. I'm going over the areas that I have put the kind of a darker reds in. Here I actually do need to kind of soften and diffuse the reds so they wouldn't be dominating me here. And I'm bringing the pink into the pink and gently, gently, gently into the white. There we go. This was kind of a simplified ear here. I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to do the same thing with the tail. So I'm going to put a bit of a darker shadow here to make sure that this darker shadow, this pom-pom wouldn't blend. I put extra white on top of the on the bottom of the pom-pom here. So it would actually show. And now I need to put that darker red at the bottom of the tail. Like this, and slightly, very, very gently and very narrowly, I diffuse it upwards. I'm making the tip of the tail dark, because otherwise I would need to deal with gel pens here, and if I just make it dark with red, the outline doesn't really show that, otherwise that outline would have kind of annoyed me. Now it stands out against the snow very well, so I'm happy with that. And taking once again the Carmine Red and going slightly over and slightly upwards, not very strongly because, but I do, oh sorry, I forgot to, those stripes in both the mouse and the worm, I'm kind of emphasizing these with Crimson Red. Now, and now I'm getting back with Carmine Red. As I said, slightly diffusing upwards. I'm going to actually add some white here just to make sure that it is nice and bright at the top. And now I grab the pink. What you hear is my son singing somewhere. The door was closed, but then the dog kicked it open, and I've lost hope that this is ever going to work for me, so it's just open now, and you hear the noises of the household. What you gonna do? Okay, so that's done, and now I'm going to also do that for the nose here, because the nose is also going to be nice and pink. I'm going to give it nice sharp shadow at the bottom, bringing it slightly, which was done obviously with the Crimson Red, and now bringing slightly in Carmine as well, very, very gently. I'm not even bothering with pink, I'm just going to add more white pencil. There you go. Okay, and okay, this hat on the little bug, whatever bug it is, I need to make sure that this is nice and dark as well. I'm not going to put shading in there. I need to just make sure that it's nice, strong color that I don't need to outline in any way. So I'm just leaving it like this. It's so small that there was absolutely no point putting much of a shading in there. And I'm adding a bit of the black cherry here. No, not black cherry isn't enough. Do we have, did I have the black grape? Maybe that will give me some extra darkness here. Yeah, because I want this to be nice and shadowed. Okay, so that is done. And now we have main things that are left to do are the mouse, the fur. Actually, I'll do the eyes first, since I have the pencils here ready. So I'm taking a cool gray, 70%, and I'm going around the eye like this. Okay. All right. And then I'm taking a cool gray, 50%, and I'm going over that line very gently, and I'm diffusing it inwards. Okay, like this. And now I'm taking a cool gray 20%, and I'm bringing it inwards again. Just diffusing it gently. And now I'm taking a little bit of white and around the iris of the eye. I'm just going to add a little bit here and diffusing it into the gray gently. So we have essentially this one, kind of a highlight area in the eye, which actually gives a bit of a white reflection. I would actually like to even darken the eye a bit further. So I'm adding a bit more of the cool gray 70% here. So eyes need to be pretty good shadow. They look much better when they have strong shadows. I will actually add cool gray 90% here as well. Very sparingly, but I will add it basically around the inside of the eye, and it will really kind of make it more pop. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to go over the edges now with the cool gray, sorry, 70%. Okay. There we are. And I'm taking now cool gray, 50%, and just doing the whole process again. I should have started darker. I like it pretty dark. Here we go. And a little bit of cool gray, 10% here. That's what Prismas are nice for, you know, if you do want to do gray gradient. It's super easy and super handy to understand which ones go into which ones. Okay, and now to finish the eye off, I am going to take a dark green, which is this one, dark green. It's literally called dark green. And I'm going to go over the edges, kind of like the outside of the iris here. And I'm coloring over black. Yes, I know it doesn't really show at the moment. But as I go towards the center of the iris, I start diffusing out the pencil movements and the lightening up. And I leave the center uncolored. And I'm now taking light green, putting it in the center and diffusing that outwards. Like this. I might even put a tiny bit of white in there. Do I still have white to lighten it further? I'm making sure that center is getting lighter. And now I'm going back with the dark green again, sorry. And just diffusing more into that area so that transition would be pretty soft and blurry. But instantly the eyes will have more life to them if I do that. And then once I put the black white dots in there as well, it'll look much better. Okay, now next thing is going to be the mouse, I think. Mouse. Let me see. First, actually, I have white here in my hand in the glasses of the worm. I'm putting a couple of white little stripes into it. I don't really want to put much darkness in there, but I just put kind of a couple of little white softer highlights, and I will go over that highlight there with the brighter white gel pen. I think that's going to be sufficient. There's no need to go overboard. Okay, now we need to do the mouses. Actually, I want to do the yellow first, and then we do the mouses first. Okay, so I'm taking the burnt ochre. Let me see. I'm going to put white in first. So we want kind of those highlights there, so I wouldn't get accidentally rid of them. I am going to pull them in. The kind of a scarf highlights that give the texture and interest to the scarf. Okay, so this is burnt ochre. I'm putting a little bit. Actually, I wanted mineral orange, I think. Did I have mineral orange? I remember taking mineral orange. Yeah, mineral orange and pumpkin orange. Sorry, I took the wrong one. So it's pumpkin orange. And I'm just, putting it in this more shadowy areas. Here and there. Okay. And I'm moving here with kind of a textured way because we are depicting something that is supposed to be slightly textured. I could, of course, dedicate more time to it and make it, look like a knit, but I really don't feel like spending ages on the scarf. So we just do it that way. Okay. And here as well. So bits at the bottom. I'm going to drop some white in here as well, so there would be more of a texture. So this was all pumpkin orange. And you can see I literally scribbled it in. I didn't really softly blend it in much. I literally created some texture with it. And now I'm taking mineral orange, just slightly lighter, but still more of a muted orange, kind of an earthy orange. And I'm adding extra scribbles, bringing them slightly upwards. But not too much, just tiny bit. And now I'm bringing in, what color is that? It's yellowed orange. And I'm feeling okay putting in yellow bits in the scarf because I did put some kind of yellow reflections of a sun into the snow. So it's not the only yellowish or warm thing on the page. There is something very subtly tying it into the image. Now, so that's done, and I'm now taking, I had like fairly bright canary yellow, and now I'm just also kind of flicking it in, and I'm leaving the texture in. I put all that yellow in quite haphazardly. Just the way, I was kind of putting the red into the scarf in a bit of a scribbly way as well. It just works better for this scarf. And I'm adding now some extra white here and there. To add highlights and texture. Okay. See, I'm just essentially pulling a little texture into it. And same, the red, just making sure that it has texture. It's knitted thing, it's not silk scarf. It's a homemade textured item. Okay, now we have all that done. We need to do the mouse and the spoon. Oh, the paws. I actually will do them after I have most of the hair down, because I need to get the hair down right to get those right. Now, first thing here, actually, I'm going to, because now I want the shadows to be pretty dark, where the hat is sheltering or kind of drawing shadows into her face and to the ear and, you know, some bits here. So I'm actually putting underlayer of shadows down with black grape, which I know doesn't sound very right, but here we go. And I'm just flicking it in like I would flick in here. And here now as well, I'm taking white and I'm putting some flicks of light already in. So just to make sure that I'm going to save these some of the texture, and especially at the bottom of the hair like this, or, you know, where the edges, I'm going to put the white in here as well. Just on the legs like this, just flicking in with little slightly curved movements. There we go. And here as well, at the bottom of the belly, just to make sure that it looks right. Because if the pencils are down already there, it won't go on like that anymore. To be able to get pretty strong white, bright white on, you need basically pure paper. You know, you need something, you know, dark paper, which is basically what alcohol marker base is in this instance. So black grape, and I am using this to have nice extra dark shadows in the darker furry areas. So those here and here and here. The ear, and here also the bottom of the ear at the back. So I'm putting it behind the hat, and then very, very gently, not much at all, diffusing it upwards. Here I don't put huge amount of fur texture in because ears aren't really fluffy. They do have some hair, but it's a short, tight hair. So I do use tiny little flicks, but they are tiny. And I'm making sure that because this part of the ear is going to be more in a shadow, and I'm putting darker bit there at the back. Okay, and here I'm doing the same thing underneath the scarf. And this is what is going to give us, you know, if we put shadows down, we better have them nice and dark. And here, you know, under the belly, I'm sure that I'm going to flicking the hair in upwards, so it meets the white hair there and it creates nice texture at the bottom like this. I flicked the white like this outwards from the belly, and now I'm taking the darkest color and I'm flicking it upwards, and it creates nice edge, soft, hairy effect at the bottom of the belly. And I'm taking that black grape also to the back of her leg, and here needs to be pretty dark with the scarf covering it, and also because the sun is coming from there, there wouldn't be much light there anyway, but we will still put some texture in. Okay, and I'm also going to flick some white randomly into the hair everywhere, because it doesn't really matter to us if there's a little bit too much at first, because we can always go in with light colors and reduce it. It's very hard to actually put it in once the pencils are already down. So you're better off having a little bit too much in the beginning of kind of texture and hair with white than not having enough. Okay, so you kind of need to keep these things in mind. And I'm putting white on top of the toes, just to give them a little bit, and fingers, where we need pinks as well. Okay, so we have all that in. And here also I'm going to put some extra of the black grape in now, and here underneath her upper jaw also striped darker. Now I need just a dark brown. Where is my that's French gray. I don't want French gray, I want dark brown. So maybe dark umber. And now I'm taking that. Here we really need that our pencil should be nice and sharp. I usually make sure that I make the area right on top of the nose a bit darker, which will take care of the black outline there. Okay, and here also. And here I'm now taking the black umber and giving very, very soft shadow here. To the area. And here as well, upwards from the neck, tiny bit. There's hair coming. And I like to put a little bit of a shadow on top of the eye. I'm being very gentle with that dark pencil now. I'm just putting kind of outlines down. And a bit of like this fold underneath the eye as well. I think it just looks cute. And this is very personal. You definitely, if you don't like it, then please don't do it. And flicking in that dark umber everywhere where there's dark hair. Making sure here as well. And this gives us the effect that, and I keep also making sure that I keep flicking white in. So I actually get with white, I'm essentially depicting that some areas of her are a bit fluffier than others. Okay, and I need something, what now? Burnt ochre. Okay. And onto the lighter areas of the longer hair, I'm going to flick in some warmer brown as well, which would be burnt ochre. Not too much. Just a tiny bit here and there. And now we're going to finish off her ear here, taking that upwards as well. I'm pretty much gonna leave it like that, I suspect. Actually, I have a little bit of sand which I will put here. Okay, and now I'm going to take that sand and I'm going to go underneath, put a little bit of light color to make that fold actually look like a fold underneath her eye. I need to put something light into it, a bit of a highlight. So I put a little bit of sand and a little bit of white mixed. And now I'm using burnt ochre. And I'm just now starting flick, because this part of her face and kind of the hair. This is the kind of a shadow color of the lighter parts of the mouse. So I'm flicking up from here, creating a bit of a curve here under her nose. So there would be a shape there. I'm going to put some white in some areas, and then I can also, no, kind of, as I said, I'm lightening things up with white and then bringing some color into it if needed. So here also putting a bit more white in. Here we go. Bringing that upwards. Burnt ochre again. So just flicking in color, following the curve of the face, the shape of the face. I'm taking now the sand. I'm going over that white with the sand. So it would still be light, but not as dark. And here as well, I'm adding some warmth to her belly. Okay. Making sure that there's nice highlight there still. Here as well, I'm bringing that sand in to add and blending it that fairly dark color. They work beautifully together, so I don't feel any need to add anything else there. Okay. Here we go. And I think I might want to add something a bit more darkness coming from here, from underneath the scarf. So I'm going to bring up more darker hair. This is once again dark umber. Okay, and burnt ochre. Bringing it up. Darkening this bit underneath her upper jaw and around her nose a bit. Okay. And here in the belly, I pretty much just flick in some hairs, but not overly much. And then I'm going to add some pink into her cheeks. Like this, some extra. There was already a tiny bit there, but I'm adding a little bit. I'm also adding a little bit to her belly. So she would have nice, cute pink belly. And I'm going to put tiny bit here, but I put shading in order to keep curved the nose. I'm also putting a little bit of pink there and bringing it slightly upwards, but not all the way into the sand, making sure that I still keep that highlight here. That is more of a very pale yellow or a light Naples yellow type of a thing. So that is done. And now we need to do the toes. Okay, and they need to be, okay, I'm taking crimson red again, or crimson lake. Actually, it's not a crimson red, it's crimson lake. I'm putting tiny bit of a shadow in with that, and I'm keeping it like very tight, not much at all. In the toes, once again, I'm creating kind of the curve for the toes with that one, putting it the bottom of her little feet. Here as well, there's going to be shadow behind the toes, creating little curve of the toes. So I think I should have it here. I put a little bit more upwards. Taking now again the carmine red Once again, bringing it slightly upwards, softening and bringing the shadow up. Here I want to put some, because the foot and the tail tend to be almost the same color. I'm putting some white onto the sole of her foot, so it would just, kind of bring it forward. Okay, so that's done. And once again, over the darker red and diffusing it upwards. And now I'm just taking pink and softening it all further, but I'm not leaving it. Like, first I need to put some white in there, for example, because I want this hand to have a bit more of a sharp highlight. Here as well, those fingers, into those toes, into those toes. So there will be nice pink little feet. I'm going to give more pink here. And now, since they become, to my taste, a bit too pink, I'm taking the burnt ochre. And at least, to some parts, especially the darker red parts, I'm putting that on top, so they wouldn't be as aggressively pink, the feet. I'm leaving the highlights alone, putting it on top of the darker areas. Take the redness slightly, tone it down. Okay, and now we have the spoon left, and then should be that's it. And then we can do the decorating. Let me see how long this is. Oh gosh, we might have to either cut it shorter or have the finishing touches in a second video. Let's see. Can I finish the pencil shading? Okay, so we have 4 prisms, which are all cool. And I'm taking now the cool gray 90%, and I'm putting it in the areas which I definitely want to be dark. So I want this part of the spoon to be dark, where it's curving down, and where the snow is throwing some shadows. But I also want to put down kind of like an extra shadow, because metal has those sharp, strong, straight shadows sometimes. Also strengthening the shadow underneath her hands. This one here, and this one also, I want kind of like sharp. Here underneath the scarf, I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow there, diffusing it slightly, but not too much. It's a shiny metal, so the shadows are not going to be very diffused. Some of them are, but some of them are going to be pretty sharp. Okay. All right. Okay, and let me put some white in as well. So we want this bit here to be pretty strong white. This bit here to be pretty strong white. Just kind of a highlight. This bit here to be pretty strong white. This bit here. But not all the way across. I'm making some areas a bit shinier than others. Bringing that one upwards, like this. And giving another highlight here. And now I'm taking the next cool gray, which is 70%, and I'm diffusing slightly, going over the areas that I did with the cool gray 90%, and just softening the edges slightly. I'm also going over the areas where there's like black outline on its own, and I'm just going over the black outline and slightly softening it inwards. This way it looks much more natural and there's no need to cover anything. Doing the same thing here, just going over the black outline. And see, I didn't even need to soften it much. Doing the same thing here, going over the black outline. And slightly, very slightly taking it inwards. Okay. Here we go. But it definitely is showing its shape. I'm just putting random shapes down, to be honest now. There's no plan or reference. I should really have some sort of a reference in front of me, which would give me an idea what I'm doing, but oh well. Oh well. Here we go. That should be sorted. And then I'm taking the lightest one. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say that the one I used just now was 50% cool gray. And this one is 10% cool gray. So I'm just putting it essentially on the edge of the last 50%. And I'm deliberately not going super gradually now. Because here I actually want kind of not sharp, but you know, not very gradual gradients, but just, you know, changes in light. I think I might want to put more white in here. Yeah, that looks good. So created a shiny area there. Here underneath her hand, there's not going to be shiny area, but I will create a shinier area here. I'm putting some white on top of it. And then I'm smoothing it out with Cool Gray 50. Like this, the edge. And getting white again. Just creating shine there. And Cool Gray 50. And I'm leaving sharper areas like this. And I'm putting some white in here. It's also kind of it's the way light hits shiny metal, essentially. And 50%. So like this, the edges are slightly blurred, and I'm going to put probably more 50% here. If you know some place looks like it's not quite right, you can always slightly diffuse things. Or but here I think the spoon looks pretty fine. It looks like a spoon ish. I'm making sure that this highlight here in the middle is nice and bright, and everywhere that I do have white highlights, they are nice and strong. And I'm dropping it here as well. And we have pretty much now the shading of everything done. Sorry, I keep moving the page and the camera is getting confused. And here I wanted, I'm going to take, show you how this affects things. I'm going to take 2 gel pens just quickly. It's getting very long, and I kind of promised myself that I'm going to do this process uncut, essentially, that I'm pretty much doing the full process without really editing much as I go. So I'm going to film also tomorrow night how I do the kind of the final touches, you know, how I do the snow, how I put the glitter on. If I did that tonight, firstly, it would get very late, and secondly, the video would get just mad long. So you can choose, you know, which parts you want this way easier. Okay, so there's a little stripe here in her glasses, or his, I don't even know, him or her, of the bug that indicates essentially highlight. So I'm taking my white gel pen, which I forgot to activate, and I'm going over that like this. And afterwards I'm going to put, I didn't color deliberately those sunglasses. I want to put some metallic color, possibly gold, into them, or maybe silver. Think gold though, because there's going to be a lot of silvery stuff around everywhere anyway, and you know everything is silver, so maybe to have one kind of little small gold accent there. And then the eye of the mouse, how this is going to wake up for us when we put the second, making sure that the gel pen is alive, putting the highlight in, and instantly it looks much better, and the mouse looks alert and alive. And I'm going to put a tiny bit of a highlight here, a dot into her nose as well, just to, and also sometimes it's a good idea to drop, like, this is going to be sharp white, the hat top. And the bog, pretty much, you know, there's not much to color there. I might actually make that spade eventually silver with the silver gel pen. At the moment, it doesn't really, you know, it's almost impossible to bring it out. I was entertaining an idea to go over it with Sakura Black Glaze, but Sakura Black Glaze is pretty thick tip, you know, it's 1 millimeter tip, I think, and it's too detailed or too thin lined for it, so it might be a problem, but we'll see how this is going to work for us. So tomorrow night, yeah, we're going to do the detailing, and I'm going to publish then this video soon as well. And I'm just going to add some small dots here and there, but in here in the cheek as well, just to liven things up a bit. Now, yeah, I'm leaving it alone for time being. So this was part 2, pencils essentially alone, and hopefully you had something to catch your interest here. As I said, I wasn't particularly organized about it. I just grabbed things as I went on, but maybe there were some useful tips here. So, thank you very much for watching. It was lovely to spend time with you. Hopefully, you will come back, and hopefully we'll see each other soon again in my videos. Have a lovely creative time, and bye bye.